let's tackle the subject of AI for authors. Now, don't hate me, and please come at me in the comments if you want to throw something at me and you don't agree with anything I'm saying. I'd love to hear your perspective, but it's pretty clear that in the AI author space and in the AI space in general, there's a lot of fear-mongering, there's a lot of rant and rage, some with good reason, let's admit, and some of it's overhyped. But in this video, we're going to keep it real. We are just going to look at facts. We're just going to look at practical use cases, and I'm going to give you real examples and little experiments I did myself and actual things that are happening in the world out there when it comes to AI for authors, so you can actually see what's going on, right? So we're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. Cue the music. Okay, chapter 1, the good. And as you'll see, what I find is good anyway, I'm going to give you the answer here to a big question that I had myself before I even started this video, which was, can AI write a good fiction book? So I did my own experiment to really just see for myself, because I'm a big believer in seeing for yourself. And you should be too. You shouldn't just listen to what I say. You should go and figure out things for yourself and decide for yourself what the answer is, right? So I first made AI write its own book completely. I already actually just got it started with the first chapter or so, but just to see enough of, could it write a good book? And I'm not a novice. I work in tech. I build websites and do advertising for authors. Some of them are million-selling authors. I've held a luxury writers retreat for authors in France with a million-selling author coach. I know this space quite well. I know a lot about writing. I know about what's good writing, and I do also understand tech quite well. I've used AI to code apps, and I know what clever prompting is, and I know how to actually make AI give me good results. So I didn't just go straight in and go, okay, I'm just going to say, write me a book. I first built what's called a skill in the chatbot called Claude, and that gives you a bit of a process that very, very simple. I did it in 5 minutes. I didn't spend too much time, but I basically gave a little process for the chatbot to come up with a decent book, like come up with the idea, come up with some of the main characters, put a bit of a plot together, build the world a little bit, work in the actual story beats. There was a bit of method to my madness, right? But I just gave it that. I didn't actually give it anything more than that. So other than that, there was no human input, and I just accepted every suggestion it gave me. I just said, do what you want, right? So I wrote 2 versions of books. One version is a grim, dark, science fiction, far future, galactic human alien conflict type story. And the second version, very different, is like a Terry Pratchett / Douglas Adams like comedy fantasy story. And both versions came out quite quickly in the most, I would say, to be totally honest, boring, predictable, vanilla. The science fiction was literally just like, if you know Star Trek, it was like a story of Picard, like the series on Star Trek now, where Picard, there's these scientists like looking at the Borg and how they've, reclaimed people or whatever. Doesn't really matter. It pretty much wrote me its own version of this. And it was very boring. I was like, okay, I read a little bit, and it felt like a machine wrote it. You could see the kind of prose ideas and just sort of things it was trying to do, but a few paragraphs in, I just felt like this was the sum total of everything that had been added together in the genre that I'd read before. Boring. And the Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams like one, it literally was like somebody had copied Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. There was a wizard. He was kind of lame, and then he found this power, and it's just, there were a few interesting things they tried to do with it, but it looked like somebody who didn't really know how to write was literally just following a color by numbers kind of way of writing. I was very disappointed, to be honest. Okay, so not to completely just throw the experiment in the bin, I decided I'm going to try another version. So I took my 2 own work in progresses, and they were exactly these 2 kind of books. Each of them has 3 or 4 chapters written, and I got AI to write more chapters intelligently. So my 2 work in progresses are exactly that. They are a science fiction set in the far future with a human alien conflict on galaxy-wide proportions, and so that's why I based it on these 2 things. And my other work in progress is a kind of like a Terry Pratchett, Douglas Adams like comedy. And I gave it these chapters. I gave it quite a lot of context, understanding about what each book was about. And I said, okay, write me some more chapters, help me fill in the prologue. And it actually gave me quite promising results. I read it and I was like, this is actually not that bad. Admittedly, it still wasn't as good as my own work. It wasn't as clever. It didn't have as interesting, lively writing. It was a little bit flat, and it didn't have the same feeling as my work, and I don't think it was as good to read, but nevertheless, it was better. So this made me realize, and before I go on, take note, never actually do this on your own work. I will never do this. I will never publish this. This was just from the experiment. I'm definitely not going to use the prose that AI wrote there. And you can see exactly why you should never, ever, ever do this later on in this video. So just keep watching and I'll definitely reveal that. But my real conclusion in doing this experiment is that the human element is still actually the best part of the work. Everything I got AI to do was only good because I had given it my own creativity. And in a way, it made it worse. Like I could have done a better job if I just brainstormed and kept writing those books myself. So I would have to say, unless you're terrible at writing to start with, it's not going to do something better than you can do if you just know how to write. And there's actually some online evidence to support this. I went and I looked, okay, what kind of evidence can I find that says AI is making the fiction books out there worse? And there was, okay, I know it's 2026 now, mid-2026 when I'm publishing this video, but the online evidence in 2024 was that there was an estimated 1.8 million AI books uploaded to Amazon, and the average rating across the entire platform dropped by 1.2 stars. Meaning, let's say the average across all the books was 4.0. I don't know what it was, but let's just say it was 4.0. And that average dropped 1.2 stars, it would now be 2.8, which means the AI books mostly would have been worse than that because they would actually have pulled the average down, right? I mean, if you're reading a book that's 4.0 stars, you think, okay, some people liked it, some people didn't, but it could be good. But 2.8 stars, I wouldn't even pick that up. So that just shows you that, it crashed the quality of the average book on Amazon. Obviously, this was from 2024, but my test confirms the same is true, right? It didn't do very good when I did my own experiment. So I personally think what happened is more people who can't actually write in the first place now think they can write, and they don't know the difference, so they go to AI, which churns out writing for them, and they think it's great because it's much better than what they could have done because they never knew how to write in the first place. Which brings me to a core principle with AI, which is simply garbage in equals garbage out. If you go in any of these kind of real AI guys, you know what they're talking about. They will always talk about the prompt, the data, what you're giving it to start with. And this is exactly what I discovered. The better quality stuff I gave it to start with, the better quality output I got. And I mean, garbage in, garbage out. This is a great principle to apply in life, in healthy eating, in learning. I mean, if you learn the right things that get you results, you're going to have great results with your education. If you learn things that are lies, that don't work, obviously, you're going to have junk results. If you eat junk food, if you don't give your body good exercise and, a good healthy lifestyle, well, you're going to have a junk body that's unhealthy, right? Garbage in, garbage out is a pretty good principle for almost anything. But with AI, it's particularly true. So anyway, I think this is good because I don't think AI can write a good book, and I don't think it will write a good book anytime soon. And in my opinion, it's probably not ever going to write a good book. So my key takeaway from this little experiment, really, and from what I've been able to discover, AI is a machine, and machines follow rules. And, because it follows rules, you could use it to check rules for you, like grammar. Let's say you write in several different point of views, and you want to check consistency across that. Maybe some people who've read your book go, there's first person here and there's third person there, and it's jumping around a bit and it's a bit confusing. I think AI could solve that for you very well because it's just a rule, right? And say you wanted to create like a personal wiki or a book glossary for your book. That's perfect for AI. It can just pull out all the characters, see when they all appear, and that would be a very, very useful little extra document. Let's say you're in book 3 and you wanted to go and find out what happened in book 1. You can't remember the color of this character's eyes, or what they did when they killed this person, or I don't know what. You could just quickly have this glossary at your fingertips. Things like that. Brilliant. Plot brainstorming. You just want a non-judgmental sounding board that you can just throw things at. AI is perfect for that, but never let it write for you. I'm going to go into that very shortly now. Only use it as an assistant. The more human your story, the better. At the end of the day, it's your voice. Readers are reading your voice. They don't want to read just this flat machine voice that nobody actually wrote. That's just a bunch of electrons flying through a bunch of circuitry, and now we just plug into the matrix machine. Is that what fiction is going to become? I really hope not. If that's what you're wanting to use AI for, then I'm sorry, I think you're going down the wrong path. Personal opinion, come at me in the comments if you disagree. Okay, so, this brings us to chapter 2, the bad. So, when we say bad here, we're meaning what not to do. Now, AI writing your prose is bad, bad, bad. Why? Well, it's a question of ownership and copyright. Because AI written work is not copyrightable. Anyone can republish it legally, and there's actually been a real case of this with a woman called Eliza Shoup. ChatGPT had written her old novel. She just did a little bit of crafting here and there and, kind of directed it. But a judge ruled that there was actually no copyright for the AI written material in her book, and only the minimal human direction that she actually put into the book was copyrightable. So in a way, people could just steal whole chunks of a book and republish it, and that would be totally okay. It would be totally legal because there's no copyright. Also, something to know is publishers won't publish books that have any AI in them because, of course, it can't be owned because it's not copyrightable. So it just makes no sense to have AI write your line-by-line prose. So you just shouldn't. Just don't do it. It's just dumb. So I think you're getting my stance on this, right? But this really brings us to the ugly. And this is kind of ugly. It's kind of disgusting. And it is the origins, the really criminal origins of how some of these AI companies were trained in the first place. I'm talking all the big ones, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, etc. So these AI companies need enormous data to train their models. And what they did is they scraped the internet, including millions of books, millions from pirate sites in particular like Library Genesis and Pirate Library Mirror, and millions of books and millions of copies of books, many of them bestsellers. I mean, all the top books and all the top genres would have been there, right? And they did this, of course, without the author's permission. This was pirated copies, and authors found out, they came together, and they sued Anthropic, which is the company that makes Claude chatbot, right? And the case was called Bots versus Anthropic. So a federal judge ruled in a split decision, quite interestingly, and this is not what every judge has ruled in the subject. This has been different in different court cases. Just in this particular case, he said the output from the training of these books was spectacularly transformative. Now, in copyright law, how it works is they look at, let's say I've got this iPhone and I want to make a copy of the iPhone, and how much did I, transform the original source? Like, let's say this was the Mona Lisa. Did I just straight up forge the Mona Lisa? Well, obviously that's just a forgery. It's a fake. It's just kind of copyright infringement. But if I took the Mona Lisa and I did this creative cubist rendition, which was completely different and had a lot of my own input and everything, well, it's transformed enough for this to kind of count as inspiration or some sort of, initial spark that I could use to make my thing. And that's how copyright law works. So the judge said it's so transformative, the inputs from all these books and the outputs are so different that it's okay. It's fair use to actually train on these books, which was a very interesting decision. I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what happened. But he did rule that holding these pirated copies on Anthropic's servers was illegal. So what that actually meant in the end was the largest copyright settlement in world history, $1.5 billion paid out by Anthropic, with roughly $3,000 per book. And of course, all the stolen copies on their servers had to be deleted. Of course, there's lots more cases out there. It's still early days as far as legal battles are concerned. There's actually, as far as I can tell, 105 active cases in the US alone on copyright regarding AI. And you can actually go to chatgptiseatingtheworld.com and see their AI court case tracker, and you can see all these different things and where all the cases are happening and what they are if you're more interested in that. But you can see it's raging legal battle, not settled by any means. Okay, so let's wrap up our AI for authors, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good. Well, the good, in my opinion, is AI won't write better than humans. Human creativity is not about to be squashed, but it can be super helpful. Grammar, simple rule-based editing, brainstorming, documentation, making your wiki, your glossary, etc. These kind of things, pretty cool. The bad, well, that really was our word of warning. You'd have no ownership if AI wrote your prose, your actual lines. You have no copyright, so never let it write your prose for you. That's very bad. And of course, the ugly is the legal origins of AI are, quite frankly, criminal and disgusting, especially when it comes to fiction writing. But you can see this is not just the fiction writing thing. It's kind of a general thing on how these models have been trained. A lot of it is very, very shady, and there are battles raging in the court, and the jury is still literally out on this. Now, however you write your next book, how you start makes all the difference whether anyone reads the rest or not. So watch this video next to learn the #1 reason authors lose readers before they even start. It'll also help you understand what I call the promise first rule, which is a major book crafting and book marketing tool I recommend every author uses to improve reader engagement. And of course, if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. And if you'd like to work with my team and myself to build your author platform, check out the links in the description below.